Hello everyone, welcome to Sidemy. This is Linux class 3. In this class, we are going to talk about Linux OS structure. Okay. Now, if you observe carefully on the screen, so we have total 4 layers. So one is hardware, next kernel, shell, user interface in Linux. What I'll do, I'll compare with Windows so that you will understand better. So see here, one side is Windows, another side is, I'll write Linux. Here it is Windows, here it is Linux. Okay. So see here, in Windows, total we have 4 layers. Okay, so those are, first one is hardware. Okay, so on top of hardware we have OS, operating system. On top of that we have shell. On top of that we have user interface. Okay, so here observe carefully what actually happens here. User interacts with shell interacts with OS interacts with hardware, and we get reply in a same manner. Okay, so let me show you. I'll tell you what is this shell and all. So let me open my command prompt. So here this is Windows command prompt. I am the user. Okay, I am user. Something I am typing on command prompt. This black screen, whatever we can write, that is what we call shell. Okay, so user is interacting with shell. Okay, so when I type something on the shell, I am getting some output, correct? Something could be any command. That means shell is passing that command to OS in terms it is passing to hardware. So we are getting reply in the same manner. Finally, shell is showing that output to me. So user is interacting with shell is interacting with OS is interacting with hardware, and I am getting reply in the same manner. So I am user, black screen, whatever you can see, that is what we call shell. Understood? Okay, these are structure in Windows. In Linux also same thing guys, no difference at all. See here, in Linux also same layers. Layers are pretty same here also. So here hardware same, hardware. See, in Windows we call OS, in Linux we call kernel. That's the only difference. In Windows we call OS, in Linux we call kernel. Okay, kernel. That's the only difference. And on top of that we have shell, and here also we have user interface. Okay, so is there any difference? Both are same, just naming convention is different. In Linux we call kernel, in Windows we call OS. That's the only difference. Here also user is interacting with shell is interacting with kernel is interacting with hardware. Okay, so same, we are getting reply in a same manner. Understood? That means OS structure is pretty same. Understood? Now we are going to talk about the hierarchy, the directory structure of Linux. So here also I am going to compare with Windows. See why I am comparing with Windows? Because you know about Windows, you are familiar with Windows. Okay, so let me show you. Fine, let me write in a bigger font. So here Windows, here Linux. Fine. Now See here, in Windows everything starts with C drive, correct or not? Everything starts with C drive. Same thing in Linux we call root drive, root. Okay, in Windows everything starts with C drive, in Linux starts with root drive. Okay, so under C drive we have so many folders are there, correct? Let me show you. Under C drive we have so many folders are there. Okay, let me take a few important folders. Okay, so those are program files, and we have Windows is there. Next we have users, and we have system32, correct? Like we have different folders are there. Okay, so guys, we have to understand one more thing. In Windows we call folder, in Linux we call directory. Okay, in Windows we call software, in Linux we call package. Okay, in Windows we call administrator, in Linux we call root user. Okay, so Windows is all about backward slash, Linux is all about forward slash. Okay, so top tip in Windows, top tip, backward slash means top tip should be at back side. In Linux the top tip should be at forward side. Understood? These are few differences you should know. Naming is different, concepts are pretty same, meaning is same. Understood? Now, as I said, in Linux everything starts with root drive. Under root drive here we have so many subdirectories. Now let's talk about all those directories one by one. Okay, so here I have listed few important directories. So many directories are there. I have listed few important directories. You can see on the screen now. Okay, root, home, boot, etc, usr, bin, sbin, all those things. So here, let me write here, root, home, boot, usr, etc, etc, bin, sbin, like so many directories are there. Okay, many directories are there, just here I am taking few important directories. Okay, okay, and we have okay. Now you should know the purpose of each and every directory. Okay, you know, right, in Windows if you install any software, that will go to program files, correct? If you create any user, that user account, you know, that details you can see under user directory. So each and every folder will have some special purpose. Here also in Linux, each and every directory has its own purpose. So let's talk about purpose of each and every directory. Now observe carefully here. Under root directory, so here this top level root directory we also refer as forward slash. That's very important, forward slash. This we refer as forward slash. Okay, this root directory we refer as forward slash. Generally we refer this one as a forward slash. Now let's see the purpose of this root directory, this one. Now if you log into your machine in Windows, for example here, if I open command prompt, see, let me close the prompt and let me open again. So when I open command prompt in Windows, so by default I will be under users and home, correct? I will be under users and home. Now after that, I can go back. If you give cd double dot, I can go back. One more step, same. Again, if I want to go forward, move forward, cd users, okay, cd home, correct? I can go back, I can come forward. Okay, but when I open command prompt, by default I will be under users and home. Okay, so this is my home directory. See, every day at the beginning of day, your journey starts from your home. In between you can go anywhere, your journey ends with your home. Understood? Here also same thing. So in Linux also, when you log into your machine as a root user, by default you will be under root directory. Okay, that means this root directory is a home directory for root user. Understood? So if you log in as a root user, by default you will be under root directory. Okay. Now what about home directory? Home directory, that means if you log in as a normal user, not root user, if you log in as a normal user to your machine, by default you will be under home directory. Okay. Any user, normal user. Okay, so home directory is a home directory for normal user. Root directory is a home directory for root user. Home directory is a home directory for normal user. Understood? Now what about boot? So for that, first you should know what is boot. See, booting process, right? What is booting process? When you power on your laptop, okay, after that till you see that Windows screen or Linux screen, okay, whatever process happens in between, this process we call booting process. In this, what actually happens here, all operating system files which are there, which are related to OS, they will be loaded. They come from inactive stage to active stage. They start working. They do some self-test on top of them, and if everything is working fine, finally you can able to see that Windows or Linux screen. Understood? When you power on your laptop, from that time onwards till you see that Windows screen, whatever process happens in between, that process we call booting process. Understood? So what is said, all OS related files will be loaded. So those OS related files which are responsible for booting, those files we call bootable files. Those bootable files will be there under boot directory. That means in this directory we can see all OS related files. Understood? OS related files you can see. Got it? Now coming to USR. Guys, you should not call this one as user. It's not a user, it's USR. Okay, so let's see the purpose of USR. Okay. When you install any package, by default that will go under USR. In Windows, when you install any software, that will go under program files. Here same thing, when you install any package, that will go under USR. That means if you want to see list of packages which are there in your machine, those will be under USR. Okay, list of packages. Got it? Okay. Next, coming to etc. etc means, see here, configuration files, all configuration files. Okay, so what do you mean by configuration? You know, right? Suppose your friend purchased one new laptop, so you go to him and you'll ask a first question. What is that question? What is the configuration of your laptop? Correct? So then what he will say, RAM, hard disk size, graphical card, right? All those things, right? Here also etc means each and every, that configuration means each and every minute details of your machine. We call configuration details. Configuration details means each and every minute details of your machine. Understood? So all those details we call configuration details related to system. Those details would be stored in some files. Those files we call configuration files. So configuration files are storing the configuration information about your machine. Sometimes we need to create configuration files. Okay, mostly you get default configuration files. Sometimes we need to create these configuration files and we need to put information related to our system. So all those configuration files will be under etc. So let me write here config files. Okay, if you want to know anything about your system, just go to etc and you verify configuration files. You will get to know each and everything about your system. Understood? Next, coming to bin directory. See guys, when you type any command, okay, let me show you. Let me open my Windows command prompt. Suppose here, okay, so this is my Windows command prompt. Here I am typing dir, okay, dir, enter, something I am getting some output. Now what I am doing here I am typing dir, one more r. When I give dir, see what is showing here, dir is not recognized as internal or external command. When I type dir, it took that command, it shown some output. But when I type dir, it is throwing some error. That means some or other place in this operating system, the dir is already pre-configured, correct or not? When Microsoft company created this OS, they pre-configured that dir command inside OS, that if someone type dir, you should give this output, correct or not? So like that, so many commands are already there which are pre-configured inside OS. So those commands are there under bin directory. Okay, bin directory, commands. Okay, these commands. So any user can use these commands. Okay, so bin directory contains commands which can be used by any user. Could be root user or could be normal users here. Root user could be normal user. Root user or any other user. Okay, so suppose if you create your own operating system, if you define any command, so if people type that command, they will get the output. Understood? Okay, so bin directory contains all commands which are pre-configured inside operating system. So the commands which are there under bin directory can be executed by both root user and other user. Bin. Understood? Now what is sbin? See here, sbin also stores some commands, but these commands will be executed by only root user, no other users. Root user commands. Understood? Here you can see only can be executed by root user. Now that means here, for example, normal user can run 100 commands. Okay, root user can run 50 commands. What actually happens here? Sbin user. Okay, so bin directory, just assume bin directory contains 100 commands. Those can be executed by normal user and root user. That means if install any command is there under bin directory, those can be executed by each and every person, each and every user. But the commands which are there inside sbin, only root user can execute, normal user cannot execute. That means root user can execute 150, 50 plus 100 commands. Okay, normal user can execute only 100 commands. The commands which are there in sbin, only root user can execute, normal user cannot execute. Understood? Okay, so these are some directories which are there in our Linux operating system. Apart from this, we have many other directories, just these are very, very important directories. Understood? Let me show you the slide which I have prepared. Yeah. Here you can see root, this is top level root directory. Under top level root directory, we have one more root directory. Okay, see this top one, that slash forward slash we call top level root directory. You can use the word root directory, but under that we have one more root directory. That's it, to separate these things, we call this slash, we call top level root directory. So under top level root directory, we have this root directory. Okay, so under this top level root directory, we have home directory. Home directory is a home directory for other users. Root directory is a root user for root users. Boot, it contains all bootable files, OS related files. etc, it contains all configuration files. USR, it contains all softwares. Bin directory, that's what we call packages. Okay. Bin directory, it contains commands used by all users, including normal user and root user. Sbin contains commands used by only root user. Understood? Okay. So this is file system hierarchy. Okay. So that is all about this OS structure and file system hierarchy in Linux. Understood? I hope you liked this video. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in my next one. Till then, stay tuned and keep learning.